Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something really core to family life, how well we actually listen to each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about, avoiding those little arguments over chores or whatever.
Right. It's much deeper.
Yeah.
It's about how strong our family connections really are.
Mm-hmm. And we've been looking at this report, Family Listening, Trust and Understanding. It really dives into, well, active listening.
Active listening, okay.
Yeah, what it actually is, why it's so important for families, common roadblocks, how it changes with kids of different ages, and the good stuff that comes out of it.
So our mission here is basically to pull out the key stuff, the practical tips from this report.
Right, so you can really hear what your family's saying. Or maybe what they're not saying.
Yeah, kind of a shortcut to being a better listener at home, building those stronger bonds, maybe a bit more peace and quiet.
Definitely. And we've all been there, haven't we? Like the teenager who just clams up,
Yeah.
or those arguments with your partner where you feel like you're going in circles.
Totally. Or the little kid having a meltdown because they feel ignored.
Exactly. The report uses those kinds of very relatable moments right at the start, and it frames active listening as the way through that stuff.
So active listening, it's obviously more than just staying quiet while someone else talks.
Oh, much more. The report talks about it as being really conscious, deliberate engagement.
Engagement, okay.
Yeah, like getting ready to really hear, paying attention, not just to words, but tone, body language,
The whole picture.
the whole picture. And then, importantly, showing you get it, checking in, trying to grasp the full message, the thoughts, the feelings, what's underneath it all.
So it's a real shift, isn't it? From like listening just to figure out your reply to actually putting your energy into understanding what they mean right now.
Precisely. Yeah. The report even mentions Carl Rogers and his reflective listening, from therapy.
Right. Reflecting back what you hear.
Exactly. And that idea, it's super powerful for families too, not just in a therapist's office.
Okay. So understanding is the goal. The report breaks active listening down into 5 core principles. First one, paying full attention. Sounds simple, but what does it really mean?
Well, it's about being truly present, mentally and physically.
Okay.
The report points out how easily our own thoughts, the to-do list, what we want to say next, can just take over.
Oh, yeah, the internal chatter.
That's it. And then there's all the external stuff, too. Phones, TV, background noise.
It's almost like radical these days, just putting your phone down and looking at someone.
It really is. Even a quick glance away sends a message, doesn't it?
Totally. Like, you're not quite my top priority. The report says being fully there shows respect. It says, I value you. I value this conversation.
Absolutely. Okay, second principle, withholding judgment. Now this one. This can be tough, especially in families.
Because you have all this history. Assumptions.
Exactly. You think you know what they're going to say or why they're saying it. The report stresses needing an open mind, like really trying to pause your biases, your criticisms, even that urge to jump in and fix things.
That urge to fix. It's so strong sometimes.
Yeah.
But they're saying that can actually shut things down.
Yeah. It says withholding judgment helps create psychological safety.
Psychological safety, meaning
Meaning it feels safe to be honest, to share what you're really thinking or feeling without worrying you'll be shot down or, criticized immediately.
Okay, that makes sense. Principle 3 then builds on that.
Yeah.
Reflecting and clarifying.
Right. This is the active part of checking if you're getting it right. Techniques like paraphrasing.
So saying it back in your own words?
Yep. Or summarizing the main points you heard. And asking questions to clear things up. Like, wait, what did you mean by that?
So it's like a feedback loop. You say what you think you heard, and can say, yeah, that's it. Or, no, actually, it stops misunderstandings before they start.
It really does. Okay, fourth is responding appropriately. And a big part of this is empathy.
Okay, so not just the words, but how you respond.
Exactly.
And
It covers the little verbal things like, okay, I see. Those minimal encouragers. And also saying things that show you get the feeling behind the words. Like, that sounds really frustrating.
And the nonverbal stuff too, right? Nodding, eye contact, posture.
Definitely. All those signals that say, I'm with you. And the report makes a great point here. Respond to the feeling, not just the facts.
Okay. Understanding the emotion underneath.
That's critical. And the fifth principle is remembering.
Remembering.
Yeah, the thinking part. Holding on to what was shared. The report says remembering details from past talks shows you genuinely care. It builds continuity.
It makes the other person feel known, doesn't it? Like if you bring up something small they mentioned last week.
Exactly. It says, I was really listening. What you said mattered.
But it's not just a checklist, is it? Ticking off these 5 things.
No, not at all. The report really emphasizes that the attitude behind it is key. Respect, curiosity, really wanting to understand their point of view. Otherwise, paraphrasing can just feel fake.
Right. It's about listening to connect, not just to reply.
Precisely. That shift in intention is huge.
Okay, so if we manage this, what are the payoffs? The report talks about the rewards for the family.
Big rewards. It says active listening basically builds the foundation for healthy relationships.
How so?
Well, first off, trust and that psychological safety we mentioned. If you consistently feel heard, truly heard without judgment, you start to trust. You feel safe enough to be vulnerable.
Which you need for closeness, right?
Yeah.
You can't have a strong bond if you can't be real.
Exactly. The report calls that trust essential. Then there's mutual understanding and empathy.
Bridging the gaps between people.
Yeah, families have different perspectives, right? Listening helps you genuinely get where someone else is coming from, their feelings, their intentions. That builds empathy, cuts down on misunderstandings.
We could all use fewer misunderstandings.
Yeah.
The report mentions it helps with conflict, too.
Definitely. Things like paraphrasing, asking questions, validating feelings, they stop things from escalating. You move towards solving the problem together instead of just fighting.
De-escalation.
Yeah.
Very useful skill in a family.
Uh-huh. And maybe the biggest one, stronger emotional connections. Feeling truly listened to makes you feel valued, seen, heard, cherished.
That message of you matter.
Yes. And that deepens the bonds, builds intimacy.
So active listening is like fertilizer for the family.
Huh. Yeah, kind of. A nutrient, the report says. It grows trust, empathy, clear communication, stronger ties, makes the whole family more resilient, more harmonious.
Okay, I'm sold on the why. Let's get practical. Section 3 has the toolkit, right? The how.
Yep, the actual techniques we can use day to day.
First one, no surprise. Pay full attention. Examples like put the phone away at dinner.
Exactly. Or carve out specific quiet time for chats. Just creating the space for it.
Sense. Then showing you're listening. Body language stuff.
Right. Eye contact comfortable, not staring. Open posture, maybe leaning in a bit. Facial expressions that match the conversation. Nodding along.
The nonverbal signals.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Okay, what else? Verbal affirmations?
Yeah, those little encouragers. Yes, okay, Just lets them know you're tracking without interrupting their flow.
Okay. And asking questions. Open-ended ones.
Yep. Questions that invite more than a yes-no. Like, how did that make you feel instead of were you mad?
Gets them to elaborate.
Exactly. And clarifying questions, too. What do you mean by X? To make sure you're not assuming.
Crucial. Next. Paraphrasing and summarizing.
Right. Using let-ins like, so if I'm getting this right, or, okay, sounds like the main thing is it checks understanding.
And summarizing helps wrap it up. Make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah, especially after a longer talk. Finally, reflecting feelings and showing empathy.
This is about naming the emotion.
Spotting it and gently naming it, yeah. Sounds like you were really disappointed. And using empathetic statements, wow, I can see why that would be tough.
So you're hearing the feeling, not just the story.
Precisely. And the report has a handy table with examples for all of these, specifically for family situations.
Useful. But it's not always easy, is it? Section 4 talks about roadblocks, things that get in the way.
Oh, yeah. Very realistic. First barrier they mention, assumptions and biases.
We all have those, especially with family.
We do. Past experiences shape how we hear things now. We jump to conclusions, filter what they say, maybe even assume bad intentions.
It's easy to fall into that trap. Another one, interruptions.
Ugh. Yes. Cutting people off, finishing their sentences, changing the subject.
Makes the speaker feel totally dismissed.
It does. Often comes from planning our own response instead of listening. Then there's judgment and criticism.
Negative feedback, unwanted advice, blaming.
Yep. That shuts down honesty real fast. Nobody wants to share if they expect to get judged.
True. What about emotional reactivity?
That's when our own strong feelings, anger, defensiveness, get in the way of hearing clearly.
Like seeing red, can't really process anything else.
Exactly. And then, the big modern one, digital distractions.
Phones, tablets, screens everywhere.
Constantly pulling our attention, telling the person talking they're not the priority right now.
It's a battle.
Yeah.
And internal distractions, too.
Yeah, our own minds wandering, worries, preoccupations, just being tired. It all pulls focus. They even mention the gap between how fast we talk and how fast we think leaves room for drifting.
Interesting. Lastly, Environmental factors.
Simple things like too much noise or being physically uncomfortable makes it hard to concentrate.
Okay, so lots of potential barriers. How do we get past them? Strategies.
First, mindfulness and presence, really making that effort to stay focused and gently bringing your mind back when it wanders.
Practicing that awareness. What else?
Emotional self-regulation, knowing your triggers, using calming techniques when you feel yourself getting worked up,
Managing our own reactions. Makes sense.
creating conducive environments, proactively minimizing distractions, picking good times and places for talks,
Setting the stage for good listening.
and consciously suspending judgment, listening with curiosity, asking questions instead of assuming.
Choosing curiosity over certainty. I like that.
Maybe even setting up listening agreements in the family, like rules about taking turns, maybe using a talking stick for tech talks.
Ground rules for communication.
And finally, focusing on understanding, not responding immediately, taking that brief pause after they finish speaking.
Letting it sink in before jumping in.
Right. And the report notes how feeling heard actually helps the speaker regulate their emotions too. It's a positive cycle.
Ah, interesting. But these barriers often mix together, don't they?
Totally. An assumption leads to an interruption, which triggers defensiveness. It spirals.
So you have to tackle both the internal stuff, like assumptions, and the external behaviors, like checking your phone.
Exactly. It's interconnected.
Now, Section 5 shifts gears. Listening isn't one size fits all, right? It needs to adapt for different ages.
Definitely not. The core ideas are the same, but how you apply them needs to change based on who you're talking to, their age, their emotional needs.
So for little kids, say 3 to 7, what's key?
Simplicity and patience, clear language, get down on their level physically, and really validate those huge feelings they have over seemingly small things.
Acknowledge the big emotions.
Yes. Reflect it back simply. You look sad because your toy broke, and minimizing distractions is huge for them.
Makes sense. Okay, jump ahead to teenagers. A different world.
Oh, yes. Respecting their autonomy is big. More listening, less lecturing. Validating their experience, even if you don't agree. Showing interest in their world, not just grades and chores.
And holding back judgment seems extra important here.
Crucial. They're often sensitive to criticism. Create that safe space. Be patient. They might not talk on your schedule, but knowing you're available to listen non-judgmentally matters.
Okay. How about partners or spouses?
Listening for the underlying need, not just the surface complaint. Empathy, validation, consistently. Making dedicated time for real conversation.
Life gets busy. Need to be intentional.
Very intentional. And using the skills during conflict is vital. Plus, reciprocity, both partners listening, both using I statements.
Right, it takes two. And finally, aging parents or other adults.
Patience and respect, especially if there are hearing or memory changes. Listen for underlying worries, health, loneliness. Avoid being dismissive or patronizing. Show you value their history, their opinions, and be aware of generational communication styles.
So tailoring the approach means tuning in to the core needs of that stage.
Exactly. Co-regulating emotions for little kids, validating independence for teens, mutual support for partners. It's about meeting them where they are.
Okay. Section 6 looks at the bigger picture. The positive outcomes ripple outwards, right?
Oh, yeah. Way beyond just better conversations. First, stronger emotional bonds and connection. Feeling heard builds love, trust, belonging.
Makes the family feel like a real team.
Which leads to the next point. Improved collaboration and problem solving. Teams that listen well, work better together, find creative solutions.
And tackle challenges better.
Exactly. More resilience. When things get tough, families with open communication and support can navigate it without falling apart. Their bonds might even strengthen.
And just day to day,
Yeah.
a better atmosphere at home.
Definitely. More supportive, harmonious, peaceful, a place where people feel okay being themselves.
And benefits for individuals too.
Big time. Better self-esteem, better emotional regulation, less stress, better mental health overall. Feeling heard is good for you.
Wow. It really is foundational. The report even mentions Carl Rogers again, about how being listened to helps you listen to yourself better.
Yeah, it fosters self-awareness, emotional growth. That safe space lets you explore your own feelings more clearly.
Amazing. Okay, to make this really concrete, Section 7 has some real-life examples, scenarios.
Yeah, 3 scenarios showing the contrast between poor listening and active listening.
Let's hear them. First one.
Teenager and parent, chores discussion. Bad example. Parent interrupts, dismisses the teen's stress about homework, lectures. Teen feels misunderstood, resentful.
And there. Okay, the good version.
Parent pauses, reflects the feeling, sounds like you're overwhelmed with homework, validates it, then problem solves together on the chores. Outcome: teen feels heard, conflict avoided.
Big difference. Scenario 2.
Young child, scraped knee, bad version. Parent says, "You're fine, stop crying," minimizes the pain. Child feels dismissed.
Okay, active listening version.
Parent kneels down, acknowledges the hurt and fear, reflects it, ouch, that looks like it stings, validates the feeling, offers comfort. Child feels understood, secure.
Simple but powerful. Third scenario. Partner conflict.
Yep, one partner feels neglected, bad version. Defensiveness, blaming, interrupting. Argument escalates, core issue ignored.
Classic downward spiral. Good version.
The listening partner puts distractions away, paraphrases the feelings, so you're feeling disconnected, reflects, validates, I can see why you'd feel that way, asks open questions to understand more.
Opens the door for real talk, not just fighting.
Exactly. These examples really show the impact of just shifting how we listen in everyday moments.
Okay, so it's clear this is a skill we need to keep working on. Section 8 talks about nurturing continued growth.
Right. It's a journey. Needs conscious effort, practice in daily conversations, even if it feels awkward at first.
Stick with it. They also suggest maybe more structured things. Family meetings, communication rules.
Yeah, things like setting ground rules, having check-ins, maybe using a talking stick for tricky topics so everyone gets a turn without interruptions.
Practical ideas. And exploring more resources.
Definitely. Recommends books by experts like John Gottman, looking at websites from relationship research places or mental health orgs for reliable info.
Good pointers. And when might professional help, like family therapy, be needed?
If challenges persist, therapy can offer a structured space to see patterns, learn skills, work through deeper stuff, and strengthen connections. It's framed as a sign of strength, of commitment to the family.
Not a failure, but a positive step.
Exactly. Sometimes an outside perspective helps break through long-standing blocks.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, the main takeaway from this deep dive seems to be that creating a family culture of active listening, really paying attention, having empathy, wanting to understand it changes everything.
It really does. The rewards are huge. More trust, understanding each other better, less conflict, stronger connections. It supports the whole family and each person in it.
And yeah, it takes time, effort, patience. But the payoff in family health and resilience sounds enormous.
Absolutely. So, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think about one technique we talked about today.
Just one.
Yeah, maybe paraphrasing or asking open questions or just putting the phone down. Pick one thing and try consciously using it in your next family chat. See what happens.
Just observe the impact.
Exactly. And maybe check out some of those resources if you want to go deeper. It's really about building that legacy, isn't it? The legacy of feeling truly heard in your own family.